The Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Saskatchewan Pulse Growers, DuPont Verticin Fungicide, and Nodulator XL. So, from a breeding perspective, what are some of the diseases that you're focused on in terms of breeding in the plant?
One of the most important disease for chickpea worldwide and especially here in Western Canada is Ascochyta blight. It's caused by the fungus Ascochyta rabii, and especially for us in Western Canada, the disease is really kind of very intense because the disease likes the climate a bit cool during the summer and a little bit of moisture. This is perfect for disease, so it's very high pressure. So it's really a real challenge for chickpeas. So that's one of the focus in our breeding program.
Is the tolerance? Are we breeding higher tolerances into the plant?
Yes, we are breeding higher tolerance. For example, if you look at the variety guides 10 years ago, you see on the variety guide the variety with rating as poor, very poor. Now we have variety with a fair resistance. So meaning that instead of initially you spray 4 or 5 times during the growing season, now we recommend growers to spray twice. So spray once. The first spraying is very important, give the protection to the plants, and the second spray kind of wait and see. If the weather like wet and then more rain, and then you need to spray. So at most we really kind of really to push. That's the limit that we have, like 2 spraying. That's the target. So if you can save from 5 spraying, now 2 sprays, that's good.
What about from a weed management standpoint?
Weed management, one of the problem that we have here, so competition with weeds. So with chickpea is very limited number of herbicides that are registered of a chickpea. So we have metribuzin under the brand name Sancor. It's a little bit harsh on chickpeas, so the windows of application is very narrow. And then now, about a couple of years ago, we have the new chemistry called sulfentrazone under the brand name Authority 480 or something. And then, so that will kind of give another tool for farmers to give the protection. And now we are breeding chickpea to be tolerant to group 2 herbicides like IMI, so that will come in a package. So we not rely on one kind of chemistry, but now we'll allow growers to do like tank mix. So that will kind of minimize the incidence of weeds become tolerant to the herbicide, herbicide rotation. So kind of the package. So on breeding point of view, I'm breeding for the plants to be more tolerant, even for metribuzin. Their variability, some are really damaged more than the other, so we try to improve that as well, so as a package.
So if there's disease and then there's weeds,
yes,
but also there's a third leg to this stool, which is yield. And how does that fit into this equation?
Yield has to be there. That's the economic. Okay. You may have a good plant, good looking plant, good disease, and then good weed competition with weed. With no yield, just like a wild species. Farmer will not grow it. Yield has to be there. So all this, no matter what, yield has to be there. The product that you have has to satisfy the consumer at the end, the people who will eat the chickpeas. It has to fit in within the requirement. So that's kind of the baseline that we have. Now so in general in breeding we have 2 main groups. One kind of goal is targeting the farmers, the production system. That's including the weed, as I said, disease, earliness, make the crop more adapted here, mature in time. Yield has to be there. And then there are traits that is targeted to the customer, the people who will eat the product, will use the product. So it has to be how it looks, shape, color, good in like cooking and processing. It has to be there. So all these as a package, you cannot separate one to the other. So you have to look as a whole package, and then you peel up that component and then you address that one by one.
That's a good point. So a lot of times when we think about plant breeding, we think about agronomics, right? So we talk about yield, weed, and disease. what kind of considerations does a chickpea breeder make when thinking about the end user? What are some of those characteristics that you're thinking about?
Seed size, for example. Seed size, consumer willing to pay more if you have larger cabuli, for example, larger bolt cabuli. That's also good for the farmers because they will pay premium on that one. So, and then taste. So they like a chickpea, have a good taste. Yeah.
So how do you breed for taste?
Well, that's a good question. So what we're not really looking into that, but we're just looking into, for example, we have some cooking tests at the end of the products, and we look at how chickpeas grain look after cooking. So we put in a jar, and then we look at the brine color. Is there a percentage of seed breakage? Is there any changes in the seed itself, the color, I mean? Is it become darker or stay like a whitish and creamy? So, because now a lot more like in the food processing, they're moving from tin can into jar, to glass jar, where consumer really see what product inside. So they will become like more sophisticated now. So as a breeder, we try to address that. So, and then we try to improve the nutrition as well, like increasing the micronutrient contents, carotenoids. So we look into that variables. That's more like exploration at this point.
That's the next level.
That's
That's sort of an evaluation after you've come forward with the variety.
Yeah.